Welcome back to 10-Minute Trends. This is the July 2023 edition. As you hopefully know, 10-Minute Trends is the monthly video series where we try to give you everything you need to know in our industry, marketing, branding, advertising, business, and distill it down to some quick takeaways that you can bring back to your work. I am Jackson Richards, VP of Strategy at Direct Agents. As always, we are joined by Megan Conahan, our EVP. Let's get right into it.
Yeah.
So let's start with some macroeconomic trends. This has been a weird first half of the year for sure. It seems like we've been, a few weeks or a month away from a recession this entire time, but the economy has proven to be pretty resilient. Mm-hmm. But there has definitely been a lot of uncertainty, and that has made some pretty big impacts in our world. What are we seeing here?
Yeah, and I think if anybody who's following this, obviously marketers like ourselves, we're following it really closely. Consumer demand is so closely tied to, are we in or going to have a recession? And everybody really said, I think at the beginning of this year, we'll know what happens. We're going to know what shakes out by the summer, and it's feeling like that's starting to be the case. So according to Adobe, consumer prices declined about 2.3% recently. And that isn't the exciting part, like 2.3% great. But the really exciting piece is that this is, I think, the 9th month essentially in the last year that prices have gone down. And why that matters is that consumers have said that their demand and their lack of spending is directly tied to inflation. So as consumers are starting to see the prices decrease, consumer prices decrease, their budget go a little bit further, they're going to feel more comfortable spending. And then marketers, us, we're going to feel more comfortable spending to capture that demand. And we're already seeing that a little bit. So the US ad market tracker, which is essentially just a gauge on what brands are spending online, rose 2.5%, I believe it was, in the last month. And that is the first increase after 11 consecutive months of decline. So what that means is brands are now starting to spend more to capture that demand. And for marketers like us, what that means, and marketers like you guys, what that really means is that a lot of us have been really cautious this year.
Right.
We have seen budgets cut back, we have seen budgets stay flat or very small growth, but that is starting to change. And for marketers, you really are gonna have to look at your H2 strategy. What is your H2 investment? What are your competitors spending? Where are they spending? What's your SOV? Has it dipped since you have pulled back at all? Because we're gonna start seeing marketers spend more and more pretty much from July through the end of the year, Q4 obviously being the big one. And if you're not ready to make those really quick real-time pivots in your investment, you're gonna fall behind. If you're waiting for 2024 to get revised budget from your finance, it's gonna be too late. So the marketers who are able to move fast this year are the ones who are really gonna be able to capture that consumer demand and really make an impact for the rest of 2023.
And I think that's holding true for what we're seeing across our partners. The first couple months of the year, budgets decreased. There was a lot of just uncertainty, waiting to see what's happening. Over the last 2 months, we've started to see that tick back up.
Yep.
And then I think one of the best indicators, perhaps, of how much consumer confidence is returning is what happens around Amazon Prime Day, which is this kind of artificial shopping holiday that Amazon has created over the last decade or so in the middle of the summer. Mm-hmm. That took place last week. Of course, now Amazon Prime Day extends beyond Amazon, similar to on Black Friday when everyone has sales. It has sort of become a summer shopping event like that.
Yep.
What did we see last week in Amazon Prime Day?
Yeah, I love Prime Day. It's just like Christmas in July or something, whatever. So what we saw is they reported about $12.7 billion in sales. They had a fantastic Prime Day, and that's up from $11.9 billion in 2022. And on average, consumer households made about 2 purchases and spent about $155 during Prime Day. I was like shocked when people said they only made 2. And I was like, oh, I made like 6.
Yeah.
Like I had 6 boxes at my door. It was like really, my husband was like, what are you doing?
Baby purchases.
Yeah, it's all baby stuff. It's like bubble, like my son really loves bubbles, like a bubble blower and like a bunch of other nonsense. But the other big takeaway is that even though this was a really big resounding success for Amazon and Prime Day went really well, it also still showed that consumers are still pretty price sensitive, right? We talked about consumer confidence coming back, inflation's going down, that's all great. But consumers have been dealing with inflation and living with this for the past year plus, essentially. And it's going to take more than just a little bit of time for them to feel comfortable kind of continuing to spend. So we're still seeing a lot of price sensitivity. What we saw is over half of consumers price checked Amazon Prime Day deals against Walmart and Target, which is higher than we've ever seen in the past. So people are essentially more loyal to price than they are to a specific marketplace, like an Amazon, for example. The other thing that we saw is a bigger use this year of buy now, pay later. So really showing that consumers still need that flexible payment. And even if it just makes them feel better, they like it, whatever it might be, it is really important to still lean into those things. The other thing that I'm really tracking, like you said, I think it's a really good indicator of what's going to happen for the rest of this year. Prime Day is very correlated. The success of Prime Day is very correlated with the success of Q4. So we see this year and year, kind of year after year. So a brand who has a really good Prime Day use maybe those growth numbers as a benchmark for your Q4. However, because of the price sensitivity, because of the increased focus on buy now, pay later, just make sure that you having a great promo strategy for Q4 isn't necessarily news, but you really have to make sure you're thoughtful about how you're presenting promotions to your customer base, how you're presenting the flexible payment options to your customer base. Make sure that it is very prevalent because it will increase your conversion rate. It will increase your AOVs. It'll really help you overall, just making sure you're still attuned to consumer wariness, even though it's getting a lot better.
Yeah, and it might seem crazy to be thinking about like Q4, our marketing plans already, but it's not. We've seen the Q4 holiday shopping season pulled earlier and earlier over the last handful of years. There's no reason to think it'll be any different this year. So it's coming a lot sooner than we all think. So I know those conversations we're already having with our partners earlier and earlier.
Yeah. The other, I think, interesting thing about Prime Day that we didn't really touch on was the one category we did see a bit of a weakening of demand was consumer electronics. If you're in the consumer electronics space, I don't think this is news to you. It's been a bit of a weaker year. Nothing substantial, but still kind of interesting to track that was a category that didn't maybe fare as well as they anticipated. So interesting to see how that category specifically pulls out during the rest of Q4.
Great. We have one more topic, and believe it or not, it is not about AI this week.
I'm actually really happy we're not talking about AI. This week has been a lot of AI recently.
Yes. For folks who want to hear about AI, you can tune into our webinar. Depending on when you're watching this, it'll be next week, or you can tune in on demand afterwards. But our last topic for today is Threads. So it is, for those who are not familiar, Threads is Meta's new, more or less, Twitter clone. It's a text-based or text-first social media app. It's really seamless to log in. You can use your Instagram login and instantly follow all the same people. It's a really seamless onboarding process. Megan, what's going on there? What do you love about it? What don't you perhaps love about it?
Oh, I really like Threads. Follow me. But I do transparently need to use it a little bit more. I was an avid Twitter user myself anyway. So I think it kind of reminds me of old school Facebook when you just post updates. I'm just having a lot of nostalgia using Threads for some reason. But I like the engagement. I feel like it's a lot more positive. There's a lot more thoughtful conversations. I feel like it's just more thoughtful people on Threads. Obviously a big generalization, but news organizations are there, celebrities are there. It seems to be quickly becoming the preferred platform over Twitter. But one of the things that we're hearing a lot or rumblings about is the decrease in engagement. People are spending now less time on Threads, they're spending less minutes of the day, there's less active users, et cetera. And that's just nothing to be worried about. You see these headlines and they're just meant to grab your attention and be like, wow, is this as big as I wanted it to? A new app release always gonna have this. You're gonna have this initial excitement and then it's gonna die off a little bit.
Sure.
But I'm not really seeing a decline in engagement and post engagement or anything along those lines. But I think the thing that we need to all track for Threads is user functionality. Are they gonna be able to roll out the user functionality that people like us want and need in enough time, or by the time they can
Right.
also roll out advertising, because you need to keep your users engaged to roll
Right.
out advertising. And
Those
Meta
are things like more powerful search,
DMs,
right.
like all of those things. And I think there's like a little bit of like, are they going to do trending topics? Are they not going to do trending topics? But either way, it's things that people have gotten used to with Twitter, and this trying to sort of take its place, you're going to have a lot of that same function, those same functions. So I think it's going to keep people for a while, but they should start rolling this out relatively soon. They're saying that they're going to start rolling that out soon, so it should continue to keep engagement up. But the big question is advertising on Threads, obviously. They have not announced when they're going to start allowing advertising, but I would anticipate relatively soon. They're already making the rounds with ad agencies, with marketers, really talking to them about what to expect for Threads. They're really leaning into the brand safety aspect, user safety, all of the things that you've kind of known to love about Instagram, and things that maybe brands don't love so much about Twitter. And they're making a case already just about why you should move dollars from some Twitter to Threads. So I would anticipate it happening relatively quickly to capitalize on that increased interest, but only time will tell, really.
Over the last, however so many years, Twitter has really been great at just building a really solid product, maybe up until the last year or so. But what they were never really able to figure out was how to scale the ad business.
Yep.
And that is Meta's strong point, of course. There's no reason to think that they're not going to be able to really get a lot out of Threads. One last, kind of personal note for this. I miss the days of social media when all you used to see were the accounts that you chose to follow. That's just me. I'm a little bit older, but I don't know. It doesn't look like we're going back to those days.
Not of the TikTok generation,
Yeah.
are we? I know. But it is nice, and I feel like Threads has become a little bit of an easier way for me to keep up with people. I feel like it's a lot more of people I follow, people I engage with. So yeah, it'll be really great to see. Advertising obviously coming soon. Meta will get more ad dollars, undoubtedly. They'll steal money from Twitter. Once it launches, it'll be a really interesting 10-minute trends.
We shall see. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Megan.
Thanks,
if
everyone.
you don't already follow Megan's monthly marketing memo on LinkedIn, please do. We will see you next month.
Bye, everyone.